Oh yeah, once again, Geshe Tashi is here. And so I hope, you are well and, haven't touched by this virus or have, got the illness not very badly, disturbed or hurt to yourself and your family members and friends and so forth. And nevertheless, for example, since we start this conversation, I have received several emails. The people that I know, lost someone from their family or friends or relatives. So that is, our present situation. So, we have to be aware of those entire situation, not small, specific, narrow. But anyway, I'm well. Yesterday, my mood wasn't that great. Whatever reason, I don't know. I tried to search the reason from top to bottom, front to back, right to left. And I have three, including my bathrooms, I have 3 rooms. And my reading 4, and my kitchen and dining 5. I searched everywhere, I couldn't find why my mood is not very good. So anyway, that was the reality yesterday, and I accepted, okay, that is the, what in English you have like an expression, that's how it is. So that's how it is. Yesterday was, that's like that. So I accepted. Although I tried some of my usual, the means and methods to cheer me up, but still wasn't working that well. It helped a little bit for a few minutes. Then again, what's going on? What I'm waiting for, nothing is coming. If it comes, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. But so like that. And that is the reality. Fortunately, not today. Yesterday, I'm talking about. And along that, I did a few things need to write a few papers and talk to a few staffs in here, some basic arrangements, and so forth. So this morning was different. My mood is uplifted somehow. I don't know why. Carry on, the morning, doing a little bit, observing the setting my intention, as I mentioned to you other day, which I found that's very useful and valuable, really, in the morning, deliberately setting the intention, how I'm going to spend my day, how my body, speech, and minds are, going to act, and where I'm going to channel these 3. Whether I like it or not, they are with me, and and I have to. So that is I found very useful, and I suggested you to habituate that kind of in the morning, to really setting a positive intention. So that I did this morning, and then as I mentioned the other day, this body needs lots of attention, and taking to the bathroom, and washing, and brushing, and all sorts of things that, although it doesn't take that long, being a Tibetan, so it doesn't take that long. But still, it needs that my attention. And I did all those things and have breakfast, morning breakfast. So that is, and have, again, this morning have written a few papers and talked to one or two staffs and so forth. So therefore, basically, apart from yesterday's my mood, I'm well and I'm fine. And I was just saying to Peter and Trey before we start this conversation, it is very strange. It is very strange phenomena. There's some sorts of anticipation or something that you are expecting is going to happen. It's going to come. Something which you really don't want, which you really don't want to face it. But what is that something? And but that kind of very uncertain. And at the same time, this uncertainty is marked by many different events. For example, in India, Indian Prime Minister 2-3 days ago ordered to say, this evening at 9 o'clock, all the lights should switch off. Then all the people come out, come out with the candlelight or whatever, some kind of, light, and stay, still with that light for 9 minutes. So I received quite lots of, what you call the messages from my colleague Abbots and others saying, oh, you have to do this. The Prime Minister has announced that. And more I received, more I feel I don't want to do it. I don't know why. But anyway, I will do it, but I will do it with with the strong sense of millions of people, who really work extremely hard to help, those people in the hospitals, in the caring homes, or in the individual home, family homes. So I don't have candle. This morning I look at, do I have a candle? I don't have candle. But I have a very, very powerful torch. I think somebody gave me, when I was in Switzerland, just before I left to India to take this job, they gave me as a present a very powerful torch, which can charge with my computer, which is very, and it lasts long. Once you charge, it lasts very long. And so it's very powerful. So I'm thinking about where I'm going to, show my light, because Mr. Modi is in Delhi, not in nearby. So anyway, so that is in my mind. Now serious things. Serious things is this. So the other day we talked about really, the practicing this very well-known and extremely helpful and useful meditation called, the Four Foundations of Mindfulness, based on this famous Pali Sutra, Satipatthana Sutra. And it is also, that sutra, not exactly the same, but very similar, is also, existed in Tibetan version in the sutra collection. Do Tenpa Nyesha in Tibetan is called. Do is the sutra, Tenpa Nyesha, that is the for mindfulness. So we are focused on the first two, the practice of the mindfulness of the body and the mindfulness of the sensation or the feeling. And I deliberately cut some of those basic meditation relation to the body and the sensation, which is nowadays very what you call easily available, everywhere. If you do 7 or 8 sessions with one of those instructors of the mindfulness meditation, ping, you are suddenly to become mindfulness meditation instructor and expert on the mindfulness meditation. I'm a little bit skeptical on that, but it is. That's how it is. So I didn't go through all those, some of the basic, how to do the meditation posture and some of those basic mindfulness meditation relation to the body, like simply observing, what is happening to the body right here and now, fully alert, fully aware of some of those basic, and because these are quite, as I said, well sort of explained and nicely demonstrated and eloquently explained by some of those instructors. So I didn't say that. What I said is, there are some deeper, some more, powerful and long-lasting mindfulness meditation can be done in relation to the body. And that is really observing, understanding, and be mindful, some of the basic nature of the body. And from the positive sides of the body, as well as from the negative side of the body. For example, from the positive side of the body, are quoted from Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life, saying, from based on this body, that we can, not just ourselves, we can help also others to overcome the sufferings, based on this body, using this human body. And the understanding and awareness of that kind of nature of the body will be extremely powerful, will be extremely useful. And also, be fully aware of that this body is like a bubble of water, like the dew, in the springtime or in early morning, like that kind of, suddenly there, and it is also gone. And it's a nature of it's a nature of impermanence. And those are something very important, useful, mindfulness meditation can be done in relation to the body. That's why I mentioned. Of course, you can explore that further. There are many good books written by many great teachers, and also relation to the feeling, the sensation, the second, the feeling of right here and now. Yeah, my hand is touching what you call the chair, or not just like that kind of feeling, awareness. Although it is useful, that will bring your attention to right here and now, and that may gradually to enhance, your awareness, your alertness or the mindfulness. But again, the mindfulness meditation relation to the feeling or sensation can be done more in the deeper, more in the profound level, which I briefly mentioned the other day. When we talk about the sensation or the feeling, many of us only talk about feeling or sensation goes with only the five sense, the sense consciousnesses. We don't talk about, we don't think about, we are not that much aware of the feeling or sensation go in a more deeper, the mental level, how we feel when we, from the negative side, how we feel, our feeling, of when we are very deeply disturbed, say by anger, by jealousy, by hatred or attachment. And same, we will have a tremendous sense of peace, feeling of peace, a sensation of peace, relaxation when we experience love, compassion, altruism. And those are also to be, when we do the meditation, mindfulness meditation in relation to the feeling or sensation. Go in more in that deeper level. That's very useful. And also, when we talk about mindfulness, don't think a mindfulness meditation is just really to sit and do, like a sit, still and then just observe or just aware of right here and now. The mindfulness in Tibetan Tempa, it is a mechanism of not losing, not forgetting the thing, either the positive or the negative, right here and now. And that is really, and mindfulness meditation can be done very perfectly when we are reading books, somewhat very, or sometimes very, the other day I was reading a book written by an English lady who did what's called, I think she might be quite a well-known anthropology. She did English culture anthropology, and I was reading the section how English people behave in their pub and the pub culture, and that was very interesting when I was reading that. There's some of those. Anyway, so you can pay attention and to bring to cultivate, the useful and helpful behavior and knowledge or understanding. So anyway, today what I want to say is last two, out of the four, last two. Mindfulness of the meditation. Mindfulness meditation on relation to the mind. And the fourth one is, in Tibetan, it's called Chötambanisha. And quite often it is translated mindfulness meditation on phenomena, or it may have different terms in Pali, I don't know. So the third one, the mindfulness meditation relation to the mind. So when we talk about mind, when we talk about be fully aware of your mind, right here and now, then of course, for many of us, for example, me, when I was taught to meditate, I was told to do meditation, slightly open eyes, not close. And I do that, and I also suggest that to others. So because your eyes open, so first thing in your meditation, what you see, what things in front of you, those shapes and colors, and so on and so forth. Yes, of course, the first awareness when we do the mindfulness meditation in relation to the mind, It's more like the sense consciousnesses which are right here and now, because they are forefront, right here and now. Then, when we bring our mind more closer and more deeper into within ourselves, then it goes, although the sense consciousnesses are there, my eyes open, my ears not in an earplug, which I do at night, because there are so many dogs down there. So without earplug, I couldn't sleep. And also there are some this I don't know what they call it in English. They're quite a long, big, and like a water. I don't know where's a big water nearby here, but anyway, on the one of the coconut trees, there's maybe 2-3 sets of these big birds. And the chanting or the making noise is very similar to in the UK when you go to the seaside. Those seagulls, big seagulls, they make this very annoying, irritating sound on there. It's very similar to that. So, and they woke up very early, around 4:30, and they make sometimes middle of the night. They also make this noise, but maybe they were disturbed by some things. I don't know. So anyway, I always sleep with earplugs, and now I'm getting used to that. First few weeks, now nearly 2 years ago, it was very hard with sleep with earplugs. Anyway, so although all the sense consciousnesses are there, but when your mind is more sort of focused or more, go down towards the mental consciousness, then it automatically relaxes. Relax your sense consciousness. Your sense consciousness won't disturb you that much, Of course, in the early stage, it will, because that is how we are. But the more we do that kind of meditation, then, the sense consciousness, the power of the sense consciousness become more relaxed or less in function, then the mental consciousness will take place. So then, mainly initially, many of those thoughts, emotions that you are, very familiar with, that you are constantly thinking or experiencing, and so on. So they come first. They and that's also again because it is your fault. It is because our mind normally, out of the 24 hours, only those during the meditation period. Otherwise, our mind is all over the world, everywhere, and doing everything. So therefore, by its nature, those thoughts, emotions will come in a more forefront. And that is also, but then, more we, not as some of the masters, Tibetan masters says, not to deliberately, reject them, or also not to deliberately invoke them. Just keep it as they are, and they will gradually, like the sense consciousnesses, they will gradually subside and so forth. So there's this very, what's called the peaceful, useful, and nowadays quite popular mindfulness meditation in relation to the mind. And that's how many people do. And I think it's very useful. But also, the mindfulness meditation in relation to the mind. Sometimes people talk about nature of the mind. When we talk about nature of the mind, there are many different layers of nature of the mind that we can meditate on, or that we can be fully aware of. But this time I want to focus more on the mindfulness meditation relation to those constructive emotions, thoughts, like the love, compassion, altruism, tolerance. And that is more, I find this time, it's more relevant for us to do that. To bring to our within ourselves deep sense of compassion, deep sense of love, deliberately, intentionally bring that, very, and then, even if it's a very short moment, without any sort of what you call the big expectation, just stay, remain with that love or compassion or altruism will be very, very useful, because that is also part of our minds. These mental sort of states, which I just mentioned, love, compassion, altruism, are also part of our mental states. They may not be very, at this stage, they may not be very forefront of our mental state. They may not be very frequently. Then it is useful to bring them, deliberately bring them forefront of our mind, and stay or remain in that kind of state of mind, a strong sense of love to all the people, particularly those people who are going through tremendous sense of difficulties. Yesterday, I watched a brief video presented from CNN, and this lady, the interviewer, she interviewed a young lady who lives in New York, and this young lady lost her husband with this illness, quite a young husband, 42. And the lady who lost her husband explained his character, his nature, and that shows, that tells me, that on this planet there are about 7 billion human beings. The majority of the human beings are really, really in a very, all the time working in the community, supporting, helping. And that shows the good heart of the people, in their day-to-day life. Is this. When I watched that, and, at certain stage, both were crying. And, that indicates the people have this tremendous sense of, ability to share the others' difficulties, although they are not in the same room. The lady was interviewing is I think in her own place, and so forth. So that we have the ability to express our love, compassion. So so bringing that kind of strong sense of love and remaining on that. And that is, that we can say the mindfulness meditation of mind. This is the love, what that we're experiencing. Compassion that we are experiencing right here and now is a state of mind. Therefore, the being, being fully aware of that state of mind is very, very helpful meditation to do in relation to the mindfulness meditation with the mind. Of course, we can do some other meditation, mindfulness meditation, relation to the mind, like the nature of the mind is clear from all the obstacles, and these are the different meditation. But today I thought it may be very relevant. We should do or try practice, because so many sufferings, although the sufferings are there all the time, but at the moment, when we look at news, when we read the news, when we talk to friends, talk about this virus, and this, the virus caused pain, difficulty to the friends and families. And therefore, in this kind of time, when we do the mindfulness meditation in relation to the mind, it might be useful to bring those love, compassion, altruism, bring those into our mental level and do the meditation. In relation to that video that I was talking about, this lady who lost her husband. While I was watching, it was just about 7-8 minutes, and while I was watching, as I mentioned, the interviewer was break down twice or 3 times while she was asking questions, and I started to cry. So I thought, it's catching me, so I should be careful not to catch that. But there's nothing wrong with that, and that also I thought, okay, that is the human sort of, in certain extent, unique human quality, being able to understand. Even we are in a few thousand miles away. The interviewer, they were in New York or in America. I'm here, but just watching that and seeing and understanding, I'm able to share their difficulties, their pain, their loss. And that is something, in a certain extent, unique human nature. And, it is useful for us to bring that unique human nature to more interactive level. So that's one. Anyway, so the last one before we stop. The mindfulness meditation on the 4th one is called Chö Tenpa Nishan in Tibetan, and quite often, as I mentioned earlier, translated saying mindfulness meditation with the phenomena. So now here, phenomena is a vast thing. It's a very confusing term, even in Tibetan Chö. What does that mean? But it is more like those characteristics, like the body, as I mentioned earlier, the nature of impermanence, its character. And also that character is shared by the feeling too, and the mind. They all share this character, being impermanence. But they all have their own unique characteristics, like the body, physical matter built, made of these molecules. But feeling and the minds are not, particularly from the Buddhist point of view. They are not, their building blocks are not those genes or those matters. So they all have different, they share some common features or characteristics, like being impermanent, subject to change. They all come into being dependent on many other causes and conditions. So there are these, the common characteristics. But also they all share, they all have different unique characteristics. Mind and feelings have an ability to experience. In other words, their nature is experiencing nature. but body is not. It is matter. Doesn't have any capacity to experience. So when we do this meditation, the meditation in relation to the fourth, which is the meditation on the what you call the phenomena, then it is really mainly dealing with those general and specific characteristics of the things and events. Or I usually find it's much better to something right here and now related to this body, feelings, and the mind. Those characteristics of changing nature. And as we talk a lot, they are constantly changing. Even the shortest moment, they don't stay static. And being aware of that, fully aware of that nature, and that is, very, very powerful awareness, or the understanding. Powerful in the sense that understanding, the understanding of the changing nature of the mind and the body, will help us to reduce that our activities or the things that we do which don't have that much meaning, but we can carry on, continue. And so one of the reasons why the Buddha explained to his followers to meditate, to understand this nature, the nature of impermanence, nature of what you call the interdependence. The reason this understanding will give us, or will support those our what you call the our that I just mentioned earlier, expressing the love, compassion, altruism. Those love, compassion, altruism, these are the emotional side of our mind, and those emotional side of our mind become very strong and what you call the profound if these understanding of nature of the nature of impermanence, nature of interdependent nature, origins, nature of suffering, that will be extreme. Then those meditation on love, compassion will be very powerful. So that is just briefly touch on the fourth one, which I will not go into that much detail. So also it's getting longer and longer, and I don't want you to stay in front of the screen for hours. That's I don't want. My plan was just 15, 20 minutes, but now it's getting longer and longer. That means my old habit is coming back. So, okay. So, thank you for listening to my blah blah, and keep safe and well, and practice, the love, compassion to yourself, to your loved ones. As I mentioned the other day, many of us, not me, but many of you who have children and husband, wives, girlfriends, parents, grandparents, living in a very small place, not easy. So practice your love and compassion, and also tolerance. It is useful. Okay, and I will see you maybe in 2 days' time. Bye-bye.